Hi, we're Lance and Chad. I'm Lance.
And I'm Chad.
And we're practicing Filipino martial arts. Today we're going to be discussing some of the variations on the number 2 side attack. Specifically, when the number 2 strike comes as an attack, we're seeing too much of crossing past your center line and Chad's arm is becoming vulnerable. And that can look like this. As he makes his attack, I can strike right away and attack his hand or forearm. If I have the range and the opportunity as he makes his attack, I can check him immediately with my checking hand and then still attack right away with my stick hand. I can use that checking hand in a couple of different ways, checking him down and pushing into him. I can push him up and away and make him vulnerable and stretch him off balance, making him vulnerable to my attacks. So striking the number 2 in that way makes Chad a little bit vulnerable, and what we've done is come up with a couple of variations off of that.
So obviously, since I can't start with this as an opening because it's too vulnerable, we'll start with the number 1 side. However, I do need to be careful because the defender, of course, is going to try to be targeting my arm or my hand as I'm making the strike. So I got to get that out of the way anyway. So one possibility is to push my arm up and over the top so that I can use abanico corto to the side of his head as his stick goes by. So that looks a little bit like this. And that seems to work pretty well. Also, if we notice, his arm is crossed in front of him, much as a number 2 strike would be. And so we can capitalize on that much the same way that Lance was demonstrating earlier, and I can maintain my advantage here.
Now, as Chad makes that variant of an attack to the number 2 side by using abanico corto, what I find, instead of using block check counter as an attack, as a defense, I want to use single sinawali, much like we did in our first video. So I find that as Chad makes his strike, I swing my single sinawali, move offline, and continue my single sinawali with my checking hand, and that defends against his abanico corto. So that will look something like this. And once more. And you can see from here that I've grasped Chad's stick hand and I'm in position to make my own counter strike with a number 5. So I can do that immediately and get to the offense. Now, what Chad is going to find here is that it's much more beneficial for him to pull his stick hand back and away once he sees my single sinawali coming. And that looks like this. Now, at this point, we're very much even. I've got a little bit of a timing advantage where I can make my number 5 thrust right away. That's going to cause Chad to have to defend.
Right, so as that thrust comes in, I have a couple of different choices. One is to simply move offline a little bit and get out of the way of that. But we could also do something as simple as parrying it out of the way in either direction. Or parry it and use some movement at the same time. Better safe than sorry. So now, with this set of changes, we have a drill again that we can use as a give and take. So I can attack, and then we can trade rolls. And we can go back and forth like that several times. So to summarize, be careful about when you cross your arm in front of you, depending on the range. You might be vulnerable to being struck or checked at any moment. We also always want to keep in mind that it's a good idea to try to hit the hand. If you're the person who's swinging, of course, you want to try to keep your arm moving, keep your stick hand moving, so that you're not vulnerable to those attacks to your hand. Offline movement is always a good idea, especially in these thrusting situations, because they can help keep you safe. And you'll notice that both when I'm doing my Abanico Corto attack and as Lance is doing his single Sina Wally defense, we're both making use of that offline movement to help control the range and to stay safe. That's all we've got for tonight. Thanks.